How's that?
That's actually pretty good.
Cool.
A little bit. And
Hi, I'm CR. Look at me. Did they happen to have any like special cigars like that? You know, like whenever you picked it up and read it, and it said, like, if you're reading this, the band fell off.
You talk about swag. That event is swagalicious. Holy mackerel.
And I go walking in and I mentioned that you were on your way, and some guy that I had no clue who the heck it was, he goes, well, let me know what time he's going to be here so I can leave. I was like, oh, obviously you know him. So. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the Smokey Guys. We're actually still getting ready, but I'm going to go ahead and kick this thing off so everybody can get the behind-the-scenes stuff.
It's always good to kind of show a little bit of how ill-prepared we are.
Exactly. It is Sunday, and Sunday is officially Gin and Tonic Sunday.
Gin and tonic, always.
And you know what I just did? I just did what you did on the last podcast. I didn't start with our introductions.
That's true.
I'm CR Parsons. I'm one of the Smokey Guys.
I'm Kevin Price. I'm the other Smokey guy.
And this is Gin and Tonic Sunday.
Yeah.
There we go. Now we've officially started.
Now we can kick it off for real.
So we decided to get together and do a little gin and tonic. Now, this is a special gin, isn't it?
This is a gin that was given to me by our good friend, Mr. Michael Johnson.
Okay.
And he and his father always do gin and tonic Sundays.
Yeah.
It's just become a tradition around their house. And so they still get together and do that. And then when we do our trips to Vegas,
right,
in order for him to not break tradition, we typically go out on a Sunday and grab a gin and tonic together and have a good drink and enjoy the time. And it's just become like one of those really refreshing end of the week or kick off to the new week kind of things.
I think it's a very light way to end a weekend of heavy drinking.
Right.
It's a very light, crisp drink. It's heavy like beer. It's definitely not hard on you like whiskey. It's an easy drink.
Yeah, and I used to do Scotch Sundays, and I still do occasionally. It just really depends on weather. I guess Scotch Sundays is more a wintertime thing.
I can see that.
When it's still kind of cool, but yeah, and then of course gin and tonic's so light, and that's great during warm weather and hot weather, and we're actually kind of in between that all right now.
We are.
It's
kind of nice.
90-ish degree day today. That was actually awesome.
Yeah.
And beautiful. And now it's cooling off, which is even better. So yeah, this may be kind of a phasing out of the gin and tonics if our luck trends to better weather.
Let's hope so.
Yeah,
because
no doubt.
we've had enough of the 100+ and just dry heat.
I'm going to pour us up some of this Drumshanbo. It's a slow distilled gunpowder Irish gin.
Okay. Drumshanbo.
Drumshanbo. It's got a jackalope on the cover, which is my favorite animal. It says Oriental Botanicals with gunpowder tea.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Nose, very floral.
Well, while you're pouring that up, I'm going to get ready to light up one of these beautiful Placencia cigars.
Oh yes.
Our good buddy Javi.
Let's go Javi.
I put him in my phone as Javi.
Caranya.
Yeah.
Caranya? Okay.
I think that's right. We can't pronounce his name, but he's with Placencia. We got to meet him. When was that? Friday or
Friday?
Thursday?
He's the national. It was Thursday night.
Thursday.
Right? Yeah, he is the national sales director for Placencia, and he and Tom came to town, who's our regional rep here, and they had a great event over at Classic Cigar, and we got to buy a few boxes of cigars. Got some cool swag as companies like to impart on you.
And we ended up winning some swag too.
We did.
Because if you don't know, if you haven't been to very many cigar bar special events, oftentimes they will have, you purchase so many cigars, you get entered in a raffle, or you purchase so much dollar amount, and you get entered in a raffle. And with the amount that we purchased, I think mathematically we were guaranteed to win 38.3% of the entire.
Good job, Laszlo. Way to compute that up for us.
We just stood a good chance. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying with our purchase power.
Yeah, there is no doubt we had a good chance at winning some additional swag, as opposed to just the box purchase stuff. But if you haven't been to an event, that's a good thing to talk about.
It is.
These cigar events, whenever a typical lounge or shop does them, is usually kind of your best time to go if you have a favorite brand or vendor that you really want to get good deals on. It's great to go support your local shop too. Gives you a chance to spend a little more money than you probably normally would spend, but you get some breaks and you get some cool accoutrement of their offerings of swag.
Absolutely. And the beauty is, we want to keep our brick and mortar cigar shops in business.
No doubt.
As much as I completely understand budgets, and I order a lot of cigars as well as what I purchase from brick and mortars, we want to keep the brick and mortars in business. And one of the good ways of doing that is to attend these events and stock up while they have an event.
Yeah. Because
oftentimes you'll find they're doing discounts by the box. Yeah, sometimes it's 10, 15. I've seen it as high as 20+%.
Yeah.
If you're buying boxes worth.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, oftentimes they then give away cigars along with that based on the number of cigars you purchase. So then you add those into the total amount and it makes them even cheaper per stick. And the other, probably the best thing about these events is, instead of buying a box of one cigar to get that box price, you can often mix and match a lot.
Yeah, and get yourself a good sampling of what that, because like you go to a Drew Estate event, they carry a lot of different lines, a lot of different, in-house brands or whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, being able to mix and match is cool, because then you can get like the Herrera Esteli, you can get some Deadwood stuff, you could get, your favorite, the Acid, you could get some of those.
My giveaway cigar.
Yeah, exactly. You can get the Undercrowns. And it's really cool to be able to do that. So if you don't maybe necessarily know what you like from that brand or that vendor, you could go in and get yourself a nice variety pack and get a break on it, and introduce yourself to some new sticks that maybe you wouldn't have picked up otherwise.
Exactly. And you can get to know these reps.
Yeah.
These guys have forgotten more about cigars than most of us will ever know.
Oh, for sure. But something like, since I've got it out, I wasn't planning on this, but since I do have it out here, like we went to a Drew Estate event not too long ago and got this cool little case, zippered case that'll carry, it's not a humidor, but it's a carrying case, and so you can open it up here and see that there's a bunch of cigars in there. Holds them all nicely. It's got these little magnetized pouches that you can put a cutter and one for a lighter. And then also in this part, I've got it out right now, but because I went to a football game yesterday, there's a flask that goes in here. Not that I'm endorsing taking a flask to a football game, but I went to a football game.
I mean, why not? When in Rome.
Right.
Speaking of in Rome.
Yes, Rome.
That's where our producer is. When in Rome, that's where our producer is.
Producer Kevin has made his way across the pond and has been in Italy, in Sorrento. Well, he started off in Iceland, I believe, for a couple days, but he made his way to Italy and has been sending us lots of photos from, buildings and streets.
Beautiful photos of just the most amazing historic buildings. I say historic. They're actually just normal buildings over there, but everything over there is so much older than our entire country. It's hard not to think of it as historic.
Oh, for sure. But he's been finding places to smoke, which is encouraging. So, maybe at some point I'll have to jump on board with this whole international travel thing and make it happen. So if we have any Smokey Guys or Smokey Gals over in Italy, that'd be fun to go hang out.
There you go. You're not going to see this in time because he will probably be gone and back not long after you see this. But if you are over there, reach out. Let us know. I'm sure one of us is going to make a trip back over there at some point.
Yeah.
Because we enjoy the October festivities way more than most people.
Which he's getting ready to do Oktoberfest, and so if this does happen to come out before then, if anybody's in the Munich area and has some suggestions where we could send producer Kevin, fire them off. That'd be awesome to be able to direct his tour from over here.
Absolutely. So what I have fired up is the Placencia Alma en Fuego, which
yes.
I think is very appropriate to fire up a
Right.
Alma en Fuego. I don't know what Alma means, but I know Fuego is fire.
Yeah.
So something on fire or in fire or whatever.
So, and I've got one that I've mentioned on this podcast quite a few times. Anyway, it's the Placencia Alma Fuerte. It's the Sixto Hexagon. Just, like I say, probably my favorite cigar.
Yeah.
I mean, I do smoke a lot of them. I'd have to probably say it is my favorite cigar of
It
all
is
time.
definitely top 5, bar none. Bar none.
So, we will see if this lighter decides to behave.
Decides
there
to
it goes.
cooperate.
Yeah.
That's not your new Placencia lighter.
Mm-mm. I kind of forgot we were doing this podcast and left it inside, so you get the big old Zycar quad flame, use a can of fuel every time you take the thing out of the house.
That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. So, speaking of events, what is kind of the coolest event that you've been to cigar-wise?
Coolest event cigar-wise?
Most unique? Which
I
one
tell you,
stands out in your mind?
Well, the one that probably stands out the most, we did one with Davidoff, or Davidoff, however you want to pronounce it. I don't think either way is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But Davidoff did a event where you paid a fee and you were given like 2 cigars, or I think it was 2 cigars.
Yeah.
And then they gave us a date, and you had to be either at the shop. I couldn't be there, so they gave me a link to like log in remotely, and the Davidoff rep gave a tour through a day in the life of Winston Churchill.
Right.
You took part in this. You were actually at the shop.
I was.
I was on the road in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and went to a great shop downtown there. I wish I could remember exactly what it was called, but anyway, wonderful shop, very cool.
Isn't it called the Humidor?
Yes, it is. I think it is. You're right.
I think it's called
Yeah.
the Humidor, because I ended up in Hot Springs not long after him that year, and so I had to call him up and go, hey, what was that cigar shop you were at in Hot Springs?
Great bourbon selection, great whiskey selection, and then their cigar selection was really good. But I sat at the bar and logged in and went through a day in the life, him telling us a day in the life of Winston Churchill, which was a lot of fun, and listening to the stories and whatnot. But the really cool part was you paid your entry fee, and then after the event was over, they gave us the opportunity to purchase some more stuff at a big, deep discount, and our entry fee actually went towards the purchase of that. So
Right.
it was really cool. You got your money back, basically.
Yeah, and it
then
ended up
some.
being a wash. And I can't tell you how many events end up being kind of that way. That the entry fee is almost just to keep, not the riffraff out, but to keep people from just showing up for just the free cigars.
Yeah.
They want to make sure you're serious about it, and that you are a cigar person, or a cigar person adjacent.
Yes.
But
you?
But then they end up giving you enough. I'll tell you what was cool about that night. Wasn't that the night they introduced the late hour?
No, the late hour had been out. But the one that they brought up that was so cool was the I'm gonna get this wrong, I'm sure of it. Anyway, it was the 2021 limited edition, or the LE stick that they do, and they talked about how it had sold out in seconds, wholesale wise, from the factory.
Right.
It sold out literally in seconds when they put them up for purchase.
Yeah.
They were just gone. So I have a real close friend that I reached out to, who is real close with the Davidoff folks, and I just sent him a picture and said, hey, have you had this stick? That they were really bragging about it, and he sent me 2 of them.
Oh, nice.
And to me and another one of our close friends. And
Yeah,
so,
in fact, the
guy that
close
gave us the
friend
gin.
that brought us gin and tonic Sundays.
Love you, Mike. But yeah, we got a chance to get together, he and I, and just sit down and smoke them and talk about them. And
That's awesome.
A wonderful cigar. But yeah, it was very easy to see why that sold out so fast, because it was a really, really good blend.
I'll tell you another funny thing about that evening was, one of the guys from Davidoff was physically there, but the guy who was doing the presentation was, I don't remember if he was in London or if he was in New York, but he was not here.
Yeah.
He was doing it all via Zoom, the presentation part.
Yeah.
But he talked a lot about the cigars, and he knows a lot about cigars. He's one of those guys who is probably in his late 70s and been in cigars since he was a teenager or 20s. So you talk about a wealth of experience. But it came down to a question and answer session. And when they had the question and answer session, we're having to do this over Zoom. So you would have to unmute, ask the question, and then remute, because we had like 3 different TVs going in the shop and this, that, and the other. So it was so hard to get a question in. Except if you were by yourself on a lone Zoom call from, I don't know, Hot Springs.
Yeah, it seems like I had a direct line at that point. So, yeah, pulling back the wall, if you happen to have been on that particular call and think, I remember that. Well, somebody over here was feeding me questions too, so I was able to ask my own, and then he's landing questions on my phone, and I'm sure on the other end the guy's thinking, man, this guy's got some great questions.
Hey, between the two of us, we had some good questions that night, but it was just so funny because it was a question and answer session of 3 people.
Yeah. I would have
me to you to him.
Yeah, I would have loved to have known what was going on in the shop with y'all, of people going, where are these questions coming from?
It was really funny. It was really funny. Of course, half the guys there they wanted to ask questions, but they weren't sure what they wanted to ask, and they'd hesitate and hem and haw, and so it made it so easy to jump in there like that. I agree. That was a spectacular event. I'm going to have to say, oh gosh, as much as I want to say the Jose Blanco
yes, that
event,
was a great one.
Back when he was with Korea.
Which I didn't realize Placencia makes a lot of the Carrillo cigars for EP Carrillo.
We learned that.
That was a new one to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing we learned was Placencia is the only cigar manufacturer that owns all of their tobacco fields. They don't buy from anybody else when they're blending their own cigars.
Right.
Now, if they're doing it for somebody else, yeah, they'll take tobacco from somebody else to blend that person's cigar.
Sure.
But on their own, from seed to, as you said, seed to lighter.
Yeah, seed to lighter.
Yeah, it's all Placencia tobacco. They have a hand on it from day one, from when the seed goes in the ground to when that final label goes on and the box goes out of the warehouse. They have touched every one of these, all 600 plus steps.
He was telling us, there were 600 and some odd steps to making and to getting a cigar delivered to the end user.
Yeah.
And they are in charge of every one of those steps, I'm sure, up until the retail seller.
And I think that shows in the quality of their product.
I agree wholeheartedly. But, as much as I want to say Jose Blanco,
right.
Here's the thing.
That was probably the most educational one I've ever had.
It was. But here's the thing. I got to go to an event in Little Rock, Arkansas, put on by Camacho, which, if you don't know, Camacho is the same parent company as Davidoff.
Right.
But it was sponsored by Harley.
Oh.
So
something else near and dear to your heart.
You had all the Harley stuff. You had all the cigar stuff. You had all the Harley girls out there helping hawk the cigar stuff. They brought out a dyno with a full-size bike, so you could get on, and if you didn't ride, if you didn't know how to ride a motorcycle, they would literally put you on a motorcycle and start it up, and you could run through the gears connected to the dyno, and so you got the feel of what it's actually like to ride a bike.
That sounds very cool.
It was really cool, and they had their big 18-wheeler trailer out there and the whole 9 yards. It was a great night.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. and it was just a blast.
Did they happen to have any like special cigars like that? Like whenever you picked it up and read it, and it said, like, if you're reading this, the band fell off. I always see those T-shirts.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just curious.
No, they didn't have any of those. But it was a fun night. There were a lot of guys there. There were a lot of guys who are not usually at that particular shop, because that particular shop has a tendency to have a higher end crowd.
Yeah.
And this brought in all the Harley guy cigar smokers.
Right. So yeah, and that's the other thing is events are great for that. As far as it a lot of times I will look for events whenever I'm going somewhere to see if any of the shops have events, because I may pick that shop over another shop just because it's a good opportunity to go in there and see how they handle an event. And I'm always curious how they do, and if they're how their specials are and stuff like that. And
absolutely,
if you're fortunate like us, one of the ones we go to when they have events, they do liquor pairings or beer pairings along with the event, so you end up being able to maybe try some new stuff, bourbon wise or scotch wise or beer, and along with getting a treat for cigars.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, what's funny is I love doing the events when it is at a shop, almost more so than the big events. Now, I got to go to Smokelahoma this year. You missed it.
Yes, I was jealous. Yeah.
Yeah, I hated that you were out of town for that one, but you had a gig that week, didn't you?
Yeah, I was playing just south of St. Louis.
Okay.
And lovely event. I'm glad I played it. But yeah, next year I'm going to circle that date on the calendar. We're going back to Smokelahoma.
There you go. For those of you who don't know, Smokelahoma is probably the biggest cigar event in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Sponsored by ZT Cigars up in Oklahoma City. And I have mixed emotions about ZT Cigars, but they put on a hell of a good event. I mean, every cigar manufacturer that I could imagine was represented there in one way or another. Of course, you've got folks like General, who have so many lines.
Yeah.
They have a table with all their lines laid out, but you don't have somebody there for each line.
Yeah.
Same thing with so many of them. But you talk about swag. That event is swagalicious. Holy mackerel. I came home telling him that next year I'm going to budget a significant portion of my cigar purchasing for that event, just because of the swag you can get.
They have a lot of one-off swag too, like you can't get it anywhere else. It's
absolutely
just there.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. I cannot wait to go that myself and check it out.
Yeah, unpurchasable swag.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get much better than that. Swag that is not repeatable and not purchasable.
Yeah.
That's the golden calf, if you will, of swag.
Yeah.
But that's one of those events. It's got a big ticket price. I want to say it was $300, something like that. $295, $300. But you get to the event and you realize that they've got buffet tables out. You get a backpack full of cigars.
Wow.
I mean, just almost something from every rep that's there. And I guarantee you, producer Kevin probably still has cigars from his first Smokelahoma 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because that's how many cigars you end up going home with. And swag bags. I got a backpack that I use regularly. I got a ice bag for chilling drinks that I used this weekend on my road trip. I mean, just tons of stuff. And it's really cool to meet all these other cigar smokers from around the state and other places.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'm anxious. That'll be a fun one. Mark that one on the calendar. We've been out in Vegas during Big Smoke. Never actually attended it because we found that it was just more. I think it was more fruitful for what we were there for, just to hang out outside.
Hang out at the bar.
Yeah, hang out at the bar, meet a bunch of cigar manufacturers, and have great discussions and share cigars. And
Absolutely. Yeah, but cigar events are always fun, even if they're a small event. We've had some small events where somebody came in, where somebody came in with we had one here at our local shop when John, number 3, basketball player, John Starks, when he put out his line, he did an event. It was just one cigar, just his cigar. But he was here. You could meet him. I had met him before.
Right. He lives here.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a Tulsa guy.
So it wasn't a huge deal to meet him because I had met him before. But it was cool that you had an event around it and people come out for the event.
Right.
So, cigar events are a lot like a homecoming. Because a lot of the people you see at the cigar bars here or there at different times all show up at the same time.
True. Yeah. So you may bump into somebody that you haven't seen in a while. And
right.
Yeah, it is. It is great, and that's what happened the other day. I say we got there, or I got there early, and I go walking in, and I mentioned that you were on your way, and some guy that I had no clue who the heck it was, he goes, "Well, let me know what time he's going to be here so I can leave." I was like, "Oh, obviously you know him." So.
Well, what's funny is you told me some old guy told you that.
Yeah.
And I walked straight to him because I knew who would have said that. And I go, "You didn't get out of here in time." He goes, "Did he tell you?" Of course he did.
Yep. What do you think about the gin and tonic here?
Oh, the gin and tonic is delicious. Now, I will tell you, I am not a gin connoisseur.
Yeah.
I know just enough about gin to be dangerous. I have sampled several gins, and I know a little bit about the difference from one to the other, but I could not tell you from tasting whether it's this kind of distillation or that kind of distillation, or other than the juniper, what botanicals are in it, how many botanicals are in it. I have not developed that palate yet.
Yeah. I've been really, like I say, over many Sundays trying different gins and sampling different ones, and it's amazing. There's a big gin is that super easy thing to distill.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually one of the probably the most simple, but it's real easy to mess it up.
Right.
And a lot of the popular gins, like your Tanquerays of the world, I don't really care for. They're not. And I don't know what it is exactly, because I haven't gone back to try them head to head with ones I've found that I do like.
Right.
But these more, I guess, they're not really small batch, but they're smaller production line gins.
Yeah. Or more boutique.
More boutique-y, exactly. And that really experiment with the different botanicals and stuff like that. I've really come to appreciate. There's one called Gilliam's. It's a black bottle with gold writing. That's like one of my favorite gins to have for gin and tonic Sundays. If you're really like in a mood for something sweet and like floral, like almost knock you over floral, Pomp and Whimsy's the way to go.
Yeah.
I had a break from that one for a while, and just the other night had one, and I was shocked and reminded exactly how many things it has going on. It's not strong alcohol wise, but it's just this mass hit of flavors that you just have to process all at once.
Yeah.
This one I find, it's very light. I like the juniper of it, but I do pick up the gunpowder tea.
Do you?
A lot. And I'm really, really digging on that. But it is a dry gin, so it kind of, better keep a cup of water close.
Yeah.
It kind of dries your mouth out a little bit.
I'll be honest, I don't know what gunpowder tea tastes like.
Oh, really?
No.
I've got a kid and a wife that are all into teas.
So
really? We sample a lot of teas around this
Yeah,
house.
I know nothing about gunpowder tea. So I'm probably tasting it and just don't know it.
Yeah.
I will tell you, one of the ways I judge a gin is I like a lime in my gin and tonic, but if I taste it and I go, yeah, I could drink this without the lime, then I know, in my opinion, it's a good gin.
Right.
Because you mentioned Tanqueray specifically. Decent gin, nothing wrong with the Tanqueray and tonic. I mean, that's a standard.
Yeah.
But I have to have lime if I'm going to drink a Tanqueray and tonic. Whereas something like Wonderbird from Mississippi, gin my wife found just outside of Oxford, Mississippi. That's one that, quite honestly, I could drink it as a straight whiskey and never bat an eye.
Right.
So making a gin and tonic of it, if I had nothing to add to it, its taste in it and of itself is wonderful.
I was going to say, I had it just over ice, and it was almost like drinking Sprite. It was just that easy to drink. You didn't need to add anything else to it. It was absolutely wonderful on its own.
Yeah.
I think this one is very similar. I tried it just over ice before I added the tonic to it, and I thought it was wonderful. But yeah, it is cool. I think being the whiskey guys and us, it's better to try it neat the first time.
Absolutely.
See what it's working with, and then go about deciding how you're gonna, add stuff or make a cocktail out of it.
Yeah, which I did not do tonight. I just poured and ran.
Nice.
I was just ready to sip on a gin and tonic. I've had a long couple of days. Now, when did we record the last one? Was it last weekend?
Let's see. The last one was last Sunday night.
Okay.
We did at Omerta.
Okay, that's right. That's right. The week has run so fast and so hard that I have blips and memories from it, not complete focus.
Right.
Because I don't remember what Monday or Tuesday held. I know they held something. But we got together with some of our Oktoberfest folks
on Wednesday.
Had a great time at Cabin Boys Brewery.
Yep, the brew pub.
The brew pub downtown.
Yeah.
And Cabin Boys is a spectacular craft brewer here in town. A friend of mine, Austin McElroy, is one of the owners. Spectacular guy. I've known him since he was a little kid, which is just funny to me because he's now this full-blown adult family man, brewer, business owner. I mean, just a spectacular guy. So, but had fun over there and met with a lot of our tent hosts and our MCs for Oktoberfest.
Brought in a couple new ones and got a chance to meet those folks and get them caught up on how we do things and how we feel like we have the best job at all of Oktoberfest because we get to get on a microphone, amp the crowd up, introduce cool bands,
and then just host the party.
Yeah, keep the party going and
what could be more fun,
right?
I mean, other people that volunteer at Oktoberfest have to sling beer or have to
really work,
do other real work. We're doing the CR Parsons version of Oktoberfest, where you do as little work as possible but make a big impact.
Right. Exactly. And this year, if things continue to trend the way they are, we actually may have a cigar lounge on property.
That's the goal.
So we're working on that.
That's the goal.
So if you're coming to Tulsa Oktoberfest, hopefully, and you want to have some cigars, hopefully you'll see us running around there a little bit during our breaks and hanging out.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, look it up. It's TulsaOktoberfest.org. TulsaOktoberfest.org online. Long-running Oktoberfest. It's been going since, the 70s?
Yeah, this is, 48 or 9 years?
I can't remember. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And one of the most spectacular Oktoberfests in the country. Easily top 5.
Yeah.
Probably top 10 worldwide.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just that big. The bands that we have on our secondary stages are guys like Alex Meixner and the Chardon Polka Band.
Yep.
These guys are headliners everywhere else they go. They do not play second fiddle to anybody anywhere except they're willing to do it here because of our Oktoberfest.
Right, because we actually fly in bands from Germany that run the beer garden. But on top, just to kind of spin it a little bit, back when we were coming out of COVID and the German bands couldn't come in, Alex and Chardon and some of those guys they got their chance to play the biggest stage at all of Tulsa Oktoberfest, and I got to tell you, man, they just flat out owned it. They were amazing.
Killed it.
I would love to see those guys do that annually.
Absolutely.
Because they are so good at what they do.
Yeah. And if you're in the Tulsa area during October, it's October, I think it officially starts the 17th because we have the Beermeisters Ball.
Yep.
Then 18th is corporate night. 19th through 22nd is open to the public. I know that Friday is
Family Fun Day.
Family Fun Day. And our band will be playing
from 11:30 to 3.
Something like that.
Yeah. In Brewers Hall.
So that'll be a blast. And come out, the Euro Dance Party, if you're a young person and you're into cigars and you're watching these going, yeah, I get it, old dudes. We like cigars and we kind of like some of the same things, but I'm not you. Come to the Euro Dance Party.
Yeah.
That's
a great time.
That's an unbelievably good time, and
5,000
it rocks.
people just jumping up and down at the same time. It's so much fun.
It rocks.
And hey, if you happen to live in the area or just willing to come to the area and stay and hang out for 4 or 5 days, you can always go onto the Tulsa Oktoberfest website and sign up to be a volunteer. Like I say, if you got the personality and you feel like you could be an MC, you can sign up under MCs and we'll contact you.
But there are lots of other areas to volunteer.
Tons of stuff, man. If you want to pour beer, you want to work at volunteer check-in, you want to, it's
help with
unlimited.
merch,
Anything you
all
want to
kinds of
do,
stuff.
they've got jobs available, and it takes like 2,400 plus shifts of people,
right,
to put the whole festival on. So we're always looking for great people that want to come hang out and volunteer their time and just be a part of the best Oktoberfest, in my opinion, in the country.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of how big this Oktoberfest is, we keep a keg count of how many kegs of beer we sell every year, because that's the easiest way to keep track. Now,
how successful were we?
Yeah, that doesn't tell you actually how many people walk into the door, but it tells you how much people drank.
Yep.
And we almost hit 3,000 kegs in what is effectively a 4-day festival. Yeah.
It's insane to think about.
Almost 3,000 kegs of beer in a 4-day festival. So, yeah, it's a blast. It is so much fun. In fact, I used to go to it, and it was so much fun that I just had to get involved, even though I'm not German.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I've loved it since I started going there, and I was going to Oktoberfest for many years prior to actually getting on and starting to volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I've been a volunteer for like 7 years or so, man, I'm really glad I did it and wish I would have done it a whole lot sooner.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so much fun.
So I know we did the event Thursday.
Yep.
What'd you do over the weekend?
Let's see, Friday. Man, going back and trying to think of the weekend. That's pretty insane. Actually, you know what? Friday. This is the first Friday off where I didn't have something music related that I was forced. Hey, you got a gig, go play, something like that. So since I wasn't obligated to go out and play music somewhere, I brought my guitar out here and sat and smoked cigars and played guitar for 3 hours.
Oh, how hard.
It was rough.
What a task.
Yeah.
What a task.
But managed to get one of the best night's sleeps I've had in a long time.
That's cool.
I just sat out here for 3 hours drinking and playing Jimmy Buffett songs. Since we lost one of my all-time heroes, I don't know, I hadn't really had a chance to sit and process it. And whenever it's a musical hero, that's the way I process. I will just grab my guitar out and I'll sit and I'll play that person's songs until I just kind of get it out of my system.
Yeah.
And that's my way of connecting with them and dealing with loss of somebody I didn't really know, but meant a lot to me because I grew up, my dad raised me on Jimmy Buffett music. I mean, I'm sure I knew how to sing Margaritaville and Cheeseburger in Paradise.
Long before you could have a margarita or a cheeseburger.
Exactly.
Oh.
And then Saturday was fun for me.
Did you go to the game?
I went to the OU game, and last minute, the people that were supposed to go with us dropped out, and I was able to take my youngest son, and you talk about making that kid's, day. Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
He smiled ear to ear from the minute we picked him up.
Yeah.
Till after we got back in the car after the game, and he crashed. So I knew it was
Yeah.
It was a positive experience, and
Absolutely.
he got the full game experience.
That's great.
Got to watch OU whoop up on SMU, which was much tougher than we kind of thought it was going to be. It got a little hairy there.
There were a lot of weird, hairy games this weekend.
For sure.
I don't know what has happened to the SEC, but I'm scared.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. I don't know what. I mean, Ole Miss won, but not in pretty fashion.
I like hearing how, these, and you not so much. You give me a little bit of a hard time, but there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, just wait until Texas and OU get to the SEC and they'll find out. Well, Texas beat Alabama, so I'm not sure how they want to take that, but I think we'll be just fine.
Yeah. Alabama should have run the ball instead of throwing it with the turnovers they had. That was a huge part of it. But I'm glad you got to go to the game. I'm glad it was fun. I saw a couple of pictures. It looked like he was having a blast.
He did. Like I say, he had a really, really good time. We took him to some tailgate parties and took him down on Campus Corner. And Saturday was also Bob Stoops' birthday, our one of my favorite coaches of all time. And we ran into him, and so Jackson got to see Bob Stoops. And
very cool.
And it was just great. And the weather was perfect. Oh my gosh, couldn't have asked for better weather.
Yeah.
People around us were wonderful. Like I say, it was just all in all a really, really good Saturday to spend with the kiddo and watching football. What about you? You had a heck of a road trip this weekend.
Yeah, I had a whirlwind road trip. I had a gig up in Quincy, Illinois. It was a veterans event for the tri-state veterans there in Quincy. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily as much of a fundraiser as it was an awareness raiser of veteran suicides.
Sure.
and working with veterans to avoid that, because there has been so much of that. So that's what the event was for. It was produced by Laughter Has No Color, Laughter Without Color. A buddy of mine that I worked with 10 years ago. This is how comedy works. You run into people and you stay connected, and something happens years later that you end up working together again. A guy by the name of Longhorn the Comedian.
Okay.
If you get a chance to look him up online, Longhorn the Comedian, great guy, veteran himself. He and another partner started this Laughter Without Color, and they put this on. And they had me up to headline, which was great. It was a blast. It was kind of a motorcycle rally kind of thing. They had a fun ride, kind of like a poker run, only with dice.
Okay.
I don't know exactly how that works, because I understand poker hands. I don't know how you do dice rolls over several places. But then everybody ended up at this place called the North Shore Boathouse, which was really freaking cool. It was a little bar and shooting club.
Okay.
They have trap shoots.
Nice.
Right there, you walk out on what is effectively the porch of this place and shoot over the Mississippi River.
Oh, wow.
It was freaking cool. So, yeah, did that. And my wife was free this weekend, so we made a weekend of it.
Oh.
We went up, camped outside of Kansas City, went up to Quincy and back last night, but we camped out Friday and Saturday. Beautiful weather. Oh, my gosh. You think it got nice here.
Yeah.
Mid 80s for the high,
Ooh.
60s, maybe even down into the high 50s for the lows. I mean,
Nice.
I had to use blankets in the tent.
Wow.
Yeah, it was chilly at night. The only real issue we had was we woke up Saturday morning. I got up, lit a cigar, had a beer, as you do when you're camping.
Right.
Lit a fire, had things going. And my wife walks out, and she walks over to the car, and she gets something out of the car, and she's looking at the car, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she goes, I think this tire's flat. I'm like, nah, it's just the way it's sitting on the ground. No, I think this tire's flat. Okay, babe, I'm pretty sure it's just the way it's sitting on the ground. I walk over, and I put my thumb in the tire, and it goes straight to the rim.
Ooh, yeah.
You're right, babe. This tire's flat. So, of course, our vehicle, I jokingly call it the ghetto glider. It's a old Escalade with 22-inch chrome wheels. It's the funniest thing because my wife is the typical middle-aged school teacher, but she drives this big black Escalade with 22-inch chrome wheels. Well, apparently something had gotten to one of those wheels, and so we had a completely flat tire. So I go to change it because I'm a man. I know how to do that. I learned that as a small child. Right. I didn't do my research when I bought the car, and there wasn't a lug wrench.
Oh, no.
The jack that was in there wouldn't do it. There were a couple of other issues, so I had to call somebody.
Yeah.
So I had to call Tyler out. Tyler came and rescued us. But Tyler gets there, and the spare won't crank down because the crank is stripped somehow.
Oh.
So he's like, I can't get it to crank down. I can cut the cable, and you can replace the cable at some point and do it. And I'm like, well, it's got to be done.
Right?
I got to get on the road. So he goes to cut the cable, and he realizes that the grinder that he needs is sitting on his shop bench. So he has to go back to the shop, get the grinder, come back. He gets it ground off, pulls it off. He starts to take the wheel off, and he realizes that he doesn't have the battery for his impact wrench.
Yeah.
So he's like, it's just not my day. So he goes back to the shop, gets his battery, comes back. I'm feeling bad for the guy, and he's feeling terrible that it's taking this long to get it done because of all the back and forth. Luckily, we had plenty of time, so it wasn't an issue. But the funniest thing was when he went to jack the truck up, it's got a little bottle jack in there.
Yeah.
And so that's what he was pulling out to jack it up. And I'm like, oh. I said, dude, just one slot over here at the camping site where we're staying. Apparently somebody left a hydraulic jack, and I've already gone and checked it, and it works. Oh. So it was one of those rolling Husky,
Wow.
Yeah.
Just left it behind.
I don't know what happened. So I pointed out to him, and he goes, okay. And he turns around, and he looks at it, and he goes, holy shit, that's mine. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I came out here and did a job a while back, but by the time I realized I had forgotten it, I didn't know where I had forgotten it. And the clients had already taken off for Florida or wherever they were going, so he didn't know how to get a hold of them. So he just thought he had lost this jack. So he walks over, grabs the jack, and he goes, guess what? This is free.
Nice.
He goes, you have just saved me more than I was going to charge you to do this. I'm like, well, cool. So he got it done. It was great. But our vehicle looks stupid now because it didn't have the 22-inch as a spare. It has the standard. So we look funny now, but everything rides fine.
Good.
So it got us to Quincy, it got us back, it got us home. But it was an interesting turn of events.
Yeah. How was the show?
The show was great, spectacular. I always love doing things with veterans groups, and with motorcycle groups even better. The only thing that made me nervous was when Longhorn got ready to introduce me, he starts talking about, when we were thinking about putting this together, we wanted to bring in a comedian who is himself a biker, who understands the culture, who is part of the lifestyle. And so we're bringing in CR Parsons and introduces me. Under normal circumstances, that wouldn't be a big deal. The thing is, I am not a patched biker.
Right.
I've never claimed to be. That I love those guys. There is something great about the patched biker groups. They do amazing things. Even the ones you hear bad things about.
A lot of them do charity work.
They still do a lot of amazing things. But that term lifestyle among the biker community means something.
Okay.
Because you either live the biker lifestyle or you don't. And if you live the lifestyle, That means you are in a 3-patch club. You live the lifestyle. And so that made me instantly nervous because he didn't know.
Yeah, he
was just talking about the lifestyle of being a motorcycle rider and being into riding motorcycles.
Because a Harley enthusiast.
Yeah. Well, that's why anytime I talk about motorcycle riding in my set, I always clarify that I am a motorcyclist and not a biker.
Right.
Just to clarify that I don't pretend to be a 3-piece guy.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've met 3-piece guys. Love a lot of those 3-piece guys. They're great people. I've done some shows for a lot of those folks, and they're good. I'm just not part of that, and so for a moment it made me nervous because he used the word lifestyle. And that means something.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was great.
Good.
It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, here we are.
Here we are.
On another wonderful night in Tulsa. Able to sit outside because we're not sweating profusely.
Absolutely. Gotta love nights like this because you don't know how long they're going to last.
Right. We don't get many of them.
This is Oklahoma. It could go from this to 110 back to 40 in a week. So, yeah. Gotta enjoy this while we have it. Anything big coming up for you that I don't already know about?
This won't get out in time to talk about Humboldt, Kansas, but we're going to mention it anyway. Our great friend Immerse is having us as a band up this next weekend to play a brunch show and just hang out and have a good time in Humboldt and get a chance to meet those folks up there and get us into a new market that we've never been before. So we'll report back on that later.
Yeah, it may actually get out in time because my hope is to get this out by Friday.
Okay.
So awesome. If you're seeing this on Friday, you have just enough time to rush
to get to Humboldt,
Kansas.
10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. You'll catch the 4 of us in the band out playing songs and doing what we do, and it'll be news to you and the boys, but I may have to insert a couple songs into the set because right before you got here, I was perusing the online social media pages and found out that one of my absolute favorite singers, songwriters, died.
Oh no. Who?
So on top of having Jimmy Buffett pass away last week, now Charlie Robinson's died.
Oh no.
Cardiac event and didn't survive down in San Antonio. And
that's quite a loss.
Man, I tell you,
quite a loss.
That as far as Texas country, him and Pat Green were my 2 real intros to that genre, if you will. Now it and Red Dirt kind of have combined, but the true original Texas country guys, besides Robert O'Keefe, I mean, I know those guys, Guy Clark, Willie Nelson. I mean, all that I grew up on, even Lyle Lovett. But it was this new, kind of new phase of the mid to late 90s when these guys were coming out and really starting to make a splash. And
the guys who, as I say, grew up on Van Halen, Willie, and Waylon.
Yeah. And then they start to do their thing, and they're writing great songs and doing great shows and stuff like that. And Charlie was one of those guys, man. His brother Bruce is a phenomenal songwriter who's had a whole bunch of hits in Nashville.
Yeah.
He's written Traveling Soldier for the Dixie Chicks did it originally. He's written a couple songs for George Strait, guys like that.
Yeah.
So you'd probably know some of his songs. But Charlie, that first album that he did, I think it was Bandera, and then the second one, Life of the Party. Those two albums, just man, I just wore those through. Those CDs I just burned up. And so yeah, for him to pass is really hard because I just really always looked up to him and
absolutely and
looked to his. His music was one of those things that's always just hits home. It's kind of like I say, it reminds you of a kind of like our tattoos. It reminds of a specific point in time.
Yep.
It's a marker in time that, when I listen to it, I love it. Got to meet him one time.
Yeah.
And it was here in Tulsa, and I have this guitar that I have a lot of guys sign, or attempted to have a lot of guys sign, but it was I specifically wanted it for my Texas country guys.
Mm-hmm.
So had Robert Earl Keen sign it, had Jack Ingram sign it, had Bruce Robinson sign it.
Nice.
The last one was Charlie, and I was like, I got to get Charlie to sign this thing, and luckily he played a show here in town, and I walk up and start talking to him, and I said, hey, I said, would you mind signing a guitar for me? I said, it's got some signatures on here you might even recognize. And he goes, I don't know about that or something, just kind of. And I hand him the guitar, and he looks. He's like, man, there's my brother. And he starts, and Jack Ingram's one of his best friends,
right?
And Robert Earl, and so yeah, he's just like, oh, this is awesome. He goes, do you mind if I just play this guitar? I was like, no, go for it.
Go ahead.
So he just took the guitar out and just started playing and had a good time banging on it for a while.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so it's a guitar. After that, I put it up, and it's been in a case ever since.
Yeah.
But it means a lot to me, and so yeah, we may have to do a little Charlie montage to pay homage to him.
I have no problem with that. No problem with that. Well, I've got that, of course, because we're both doing that, and then the next Monday I am in the Funniest Person in Tulsa competition.
Very cool.
Now, I hate comedy competitions with a pink and purple passion,
yeah.
But I like supporting other comedians. And so if I can compete and add some support and bring some additional audience, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, they just haven't found a way to do a comedy competition right. I think and sometimes it's like the music, like the Battle of the Bands and stuff like that. I just don't. I feel like it's really hard to judge on one performance.
Right.
On one, especially short timed performance, because you never know if what mode you're going to be in that day, if you're going to be firing on all cylinders like you normally do, or if it's going to be one of those off days.
Right. And
then on top of that, it's subjective to who the judges are. You never know if they're going to be experienced enough to know their butt from a hole in the ground or not.
Right.
Even
if they do, it may or may not be their sense of humor.
Right. That's the other
Everybody has a different sense of humor. And so you never know. You just never know. But it's a lot of fun because you get to see a lot of the local comedians that are really out there doing it and working on it and honing their craft. And that's the way comedy works. Everybody starts at that open mic level, from the biggest guys you've ever seen to your local guys. Everybody starts at open mic and works their way up.
Well, and the funny thing is, even the guys that we consider, that most everybody would consider mega famous comedians,
mm-hmm.
when they decide, say they haven't done it in a long time, they may not go back to an open mic per se, but they will go back to these small clubs and workshop their stuff just like they did in the old days.
Absolutely.
To get it ready for these big tours or these bigger shows that they do.
Yep.
They literally take themselves right back to the roots.
Yep.
And start doing it there.
It's one of the few crafts that do that.
Yeah.
Because, music, I would be willing to bet most musicians would love to be able to do that, but they cannot.
Yeah.
Because once they get a big enough following, they can't just walk into a small club.
Right.
Because there has to be prep work. You don't, as a comedian, I walk in, all I need is a microphone, and that's only if it's a big enough room that I need a microphone.
Yeah.
If it's a small enough room, I don't even need that. So I can walk into a room and do some comedy and walk away. No matter how big a name I were, nobody would know I was there until I was on stage.
Yeah.
And then everybody could, be involved in the moment, and then it's over. With a band, that's a little harder.
A little bit harder.
Otherwise, I'd be willing to bet a lot of musicians would do the exact same thing.
And occasionally they do. What they'll do is they'll just, you'll take either a band or a solo artist, and they will start a spin-off, and they'll just name it something totally random that you would not associate with them at all.
Yeah.
And then they go do that, and then it's fun for them.
Or you get somebody like Green Day, who plays stadiums, who came to Canes, which seats, well, it doesn't seat,
1,700 standing.
1,700. Because they wanted that small feel for what they were doing.
Yeah.
But overall, comedy is one of the rare art forms that does that. That everybody goes back to their roots and everybody goes back to the fundamentals.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. How's your smoke going? I have to ask.
Right. This is, like I say, as always, just a super smooth, full-bodied smoke that just burns clean. It hits every mark I'm looking for out of a cigar. It's got all the right notes. Goes great with a gin and tonic too, by the way.
Yes, it does.
So yeah, again, I love it. The Alma Fuerte series, you can't go wrong. They're about $20 a stick if you're in somewhere like Tulsa.
This area.
If you're in Vegas, 45 to 50.
Yeah, no kidding.
Last time we were out there, I think that's what we paid for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just cannot recommend these enough. And of course, that Alma Fuego.
Alma en Fuego.
Yeah, Alma en Fuego is a great stick as well. Is that the Toro?
Yes, it is.
What do you think?
Spectacular. Just a little bit of spice. Of course, being an en Fuego, you expect it to have a little bit of spice, but a lot of naturally sweet notes.
Yeah.
Obviously not a sweetened cigar by any stretch, but a lot of naturally sweet notes, even though it is more of a natural wrapper kind of color profile. That's one of the things we were talking to Javi about, and he was talking about the fact that your darker wrappers are generally a little sweeter on the tongue than your lighter wrappers.
Yeah.
But this one's got some natural sweetness to it that's really good, and like you said, pairs beautifully with this gin.
Yeah, and I think Alma means ripe, if I remember right.
Don't get me lying.
I'm pretty sure it does.
I'm trying to study German on Duolingo, and I'm failing miserably. So don't start throwing Spanish or whatever it is at me.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things about these. They let the tobacco ripen, and it gets to that just the sweet spot where it's just right and ripe enough that it has all the flavors you're looking for. Gets you like say a little sweeter.
Yes.
Where it's just like anything else, food or anything else. If it's not ripe enough, it's going to be bitter and harsh.
Yep.
This allows it to get to that nice maturity that you're looking for in a cigar, especially on a higher end stick.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us again, as always. I'm hoping to throw some shorts out there this week. I don't know what I'm going to get done and what I'm not, just because that's the way this goes.
Just drive by First and Harvard. He'll throw them at your car. It'll be all right. Fine.
I do have some very ashy shorts right now. Between the campfire and the cigars, I have some formerly black shorts that are now kind of gray. So, but hey, thanks for joining us. Oh, where can they find you online?
Online, check it out at KP Troubadour, at Kevin Price Band on any of the social medias. Make sure to do me a favor and like and subscribe and hit the little bell so you get notified whenever we post these. And what about you? Where can they find you?
CR Parsons Comedy or CR Parsons Comedian on all your social medias. Also, you can email me directly at booking@crparsons.com.
You can email us at thesmokeyguys@gmail.com.
Absolutely. And comment. If you have something you want to say to us, comment on the video. That helps the algorithm. It's those little things, liking, subscribing, commenting, helps the algorithm, helps push this out, because cigar stuff on YouTube isn't pushed very hard.
No.
I mean, if we were doing political commentary, we could probably be pushed a whole lot harder, a whole lot quicker. If we were doing, I don't know, pretending to be non-player characters and just sitting here going, oh, so good.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. We would be huge. Yeah. But because it's cigars, they think, oh, that's evil, so they don't push it out. So if you guys can do that, like, subscribe, comment, that'll help the algorithm a lot, and we appreciate that. Sure. But until then,
stay
smoky.
That was good. That was a good one,
yeah,
too.
I think that was a good one. I think our microphones hopefully picked up well.
Yeah.
Can you hit stop for me?
Yeah.